Boom. We are live today, ladies and gentlemen, and what an exciting day it is to be live. We have a great guest for you, a Bear family member, well, actually multiple Bear family members, like Krowns Crypto Cave, and it suggested we communicate together. So that's exactly what we're going to do today. Krowns, how you doing today?
Hey, good to be here with the Bear family, and good to meet you, Tio. Can I call you Tio, or do you want to be called Mr. Bear?
No, Tio's good. I like it. It's actually
Tio. All right, cool.
Yeah, it was a nickname my grandma gave me. So it's like, it drives close to home. And she passed away this year, so it feels even more enlightening to have that namesake come back. So right from the get-go, what I'd like you to do is give us a little bit of your background and tell us how you ended up in the blockchain and Bitcoin space.
Oh man, a long story. About 10 years ago, I became a trader right out of college. Well, basically left college. I did graduate with a degree, but basically, as most college kids come to notice, you don't really want to do what you wanted to study in college. So came down, harassed some family members who worked on the New York Stock Exchange, Arc of the floor over there, options exchange, essentially in San Francisco. Harassed them, and one of the biggest, baddest guys took me under his wing for a couple of years. Basically taught me everything that he knows, and then I was a professional trader for the next few years, moving all the way from San Francisco to Chicago, trading above the Chicago Boys Options Exchange, the one that basically just let go of Bitcoin futures recently. And then, a couple more years passed, and then I hear about this crazy Bitcoin thing. My friends introduced me to it. Don't really think too much of it at first, but then I start to actually, trade it and figure out that it actually trades quite well. And that really got me interested into it. So I started to gradually shift over to just trading Bitcoin because there's so much more freedom involved with it, and so much more, personal autonomy that comes down to actually, managing around, an actual trading lifestyle. When you're trading more professional venue, there's all sorts of regulatory agencies. There's FINRA, the SEC. There's all sorts of rules. There's all sorts of overhead costs, and the allure of crypto just became more and more, compelling, essentially. So slowly but surely, just switched over, and now here I am, live in Finland now, and talk with you. Good to meet you.
Beautiful. It's a pleasure to meet you as well. I think we've got a lot in common, and I hear great things about Finland, so I'm stoked you're in the new space. We've had a perfect time. I mean, Bitcoin made its run on April Fools, which I think is actually, personally, I think it's actually rather well connected. I think this is a nice B wave in the corrective series in the Elliott. So there's a lot of contention right now. I don't think we've hit the bottom, and I've been saying this since we dropped from 6,000 in November. And before I ever had Tyler Jenks on the show or heard about Hyperwave, I had aimed that the sentiments might bring us down as low as $1,600. Now, this causes a lot of people to come out like, "Oh, it'll never happen. It costs too much to mine Bitcoin."
Definitely, emotions run high. Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that actually, it's one of the really interesting parts about this space is that because we have so many, let's say, new investors and new money to some degree, we have a lot more of that. I'm going to call it, I don't want to be offensive here, but it's almost immature markets, but it's a plus side because it means there's a hell of a lot more volatility, and that's
a lot of opportunity, man.
A lot of opportunity. So let's get your take on where we're at. Did we hit the bottom, and what can we expect from this next little price jump?
Yeah, so I mean, we can just go into the charts right now if you desire.
Yeah, you've got the share screen button.
I do. I can bring it up right over here. And where are my? Let's see. Is that okay? Great. There we go. Sharing that. Let's get on over to the actual charts. Can we see me?
Yes.
Oh, beautiful. Okay. Excellent. All right, I'm on screen share. Awesome.
Yep.
Okay, cool. So yeah. When talking about major market cycles, right, we see similarities between all sorts of different assets. So I want to start off by kind of stating this: whether I've been trading equity options or forex or commodities or magic internet money, we all see the same sorts of human behaviors represented in these charts, because basically at the end of the day, the only people who are trading these things are, well, humans. And then of course there's bots and algos as well, but they're programmed by humans. So it's a one relating factor that we all have to go down through. So when it comes down to it, we see a lot of very similar behaviors across all different asset classes. And then within that asset class, we have specific personalities. So Bitcoin has kind of revealed its own personality to play out these extremely volatile, aggressive, violent moves, which is why we love Bitcoin. It's very sexy. But at the same point in time, after a move like this, I really have to pull it back to the higher timeframes and look, have we broken any of those major areas that changes my opinion around from being we're in an obvious downtrend, we're in a bear market, to have these switch shifts around? Are we, do we have a change of behavior? Are we in a bull market? And right now, the higher timeframes are still telling the same story as far as it goes. Doesn't mean that it can't change, but I always want to remind people that these sorts of market cycles can take a very long time. You're going to have your rallies in your bear market cycle. You're going to have your dumps in your bull market cycle. If we go pull up a chart of gold right here, you're going to see that, oh, whoops, wrong symbol. You're going to see that gold, actually has a very similar overall feeling of Bitcoin. In fact, they're quite often compared. But look at this, man. I mean, gold had its parabolic run in what, 2011, 2012. I was actually trading this live, and ever since then, for the next almost, 9 years now, it's been consolidating in this area. So I always want to remind myself that when talking about Bitcoin, don't get stuck in the minutia. When we're looking at these lower timeframes like this, Bitcoin popping all the way up to test this major exponential moving average right here, which is the 377. I mean, that's a major pivot point in the markets as far as I'm concerned. So we haven't really changed around anything on the extreme higher timeframes. Of course, on the lower timeframes, being long is a play. I've been long myself ever since about 39.30, actually just getting this move. But when it comes down to it, when you pull it out, and when in doubt, pull it out, I'm looking at this whole picture right here. Let's actually go to Bitstamp. And what I see is that Bitcoin has not been able to get above this pink 200 simple moving average for the past over a year, since March of 2018. We are actually going to have a chance to get above and over it today, which is very important, because this could actually be the one of the first initial major changes in behavior, if I did want to say that perhaps the low is not in. Now, of course, I actually am still of the bearish opinion. I actually do think that Bitcoin probably hasn't bottomed, but I also think that this is going to take a very long time. I think that, if we're still, if by the end of the year we're still kind of figuring things out, we haven't still gotten back above 6,000, that would be, that would kind of make sense. But of course, opinion aside, because I don't trade my opinion, just looking at the technicals and being a trader, first things first, if we could actually close today above that, that would be, that would start to change around my opinions a little bit. Well, let's actually bring it out just a little bit more to the weekly, which the weekly, as far as I'm concerned, we are actually living above this purple 200 exponential moving average for the first time in about 5 months, which is usually a good gauge of kind of where you are in the market cycle. We actually broke it. We actually broke for the first time in Bitcoin's history in December. Now, obviously, living above it, but of course, we need to close the weekly above it. So we'll actually have a chance to perhaps destroy that as well. But you also notice that still we are in this range right here, right around that 5,200 mark, which is incredibly important, because not only is it the 50 exponential on the weekly, but if we pull it out to the most important time frame, in my opinion, the monthly, we do see that the 21 exponential moving average is coming right around here. So going back to my sort of beginnings as a professional trader, looking at equity options, I'd always use the monthly time frame and the 21 exponential on the monthly, which is again this yellow moving average right here, to judge if something was generally bullish or generally bearish. And as you can see right now, Bitcoin is still living below it, and has lived below it for about 5-6 months now. Keep in mind, it's actually been a great marker in the past. In 2014, 2015, when Bitcoin broke the 21 exponential to the downside, that was full free fall on your ultimate lows. And more importantly, when you actually regained the 21, that was a perfect timing of the bull market cycle up. The really important thing about what happened today is that so far, Bitcoin has aggressively sold off the test of the 21 exponential moving average right here, which to me is a rejection. And if this is a rejection, which we can verify in the lower time frames, looking at the daily right here, giving up already about I think 10% of this run. Yeah, about 10% of this run from top to bottom. That tells me that is still being respected. And if we're still respecting that means that all of the big market movers, the people who actually control the market, are selling this area, and their bots and algos are still on the sell side, which would imply an overall bearish narrative, which I think is further, sorry, I'm talking a lot right now, man. Feel free to stop me at any given
moment. No, I love it. I'm a ranter. Keep ranting.
All right, fair enough. So another big thing that I'm looking at today as well is the MVT signal, which shout out to Willy Woo for this. This is a phenomenal fundamental indicator, which has not been wrong in the whole history of Bitcoin. It's never been wrong.
Hold on. Sorry, yeah. What's the MVT? I've never used this one. I love the volume profiler, but I've never seen this one. What is this?
Okay, so MVT signal is the network value divided by the daily transaction value, and then it's and then there's like a 90-day smooth moving average on it. Basically, what that means is it's called tops and bottoms perfectly, to be quite honest. So again, it's more of a fundamental indicator, and the relevancy of this is, as I pull this chart out, you can see that each and every time we've marked a red on this, which is essentially above a 140 mark on the oscillator, it has called a major market cycle top. We have the bull trap of 2018 right here. We have the parabolic top of 2017 right over here at 20,000. We have this bull trap right over here. We have the parabolic top in 2013, 2014 right here, and 2013 right here. We can go back further, but basically you get the idea. The fact is that right now we are actually taking red once again. And this being a 100% accurate indicator in the past history for Bitcoin, I would want to pay attention to this, especially as we take a red while backing off of all of those major resistances that we just spoke about at the 5,200 level, like the monthly 21 and the weekly 50 and in the daily 377, all in that range, all very, 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 very important from a traditional standpoint. So, putting all these puzzle pieces together, it does to me look like, while I wouldn't necessarily be selling right now, I would be very cognizant that if you do see any sort of very aggressive pullback below 4,600, that's going to be a big signal in the overall grand scheme of things. That's going to say, hey, be careful with what's going on right now, because there are certainly warning signs within the charts. Again, doesn't mean that I can't switch around and get bullish. Basically, if Bitcoin would close next monthly above that 21 exponential at 5,200, I would immediately switch to bullish. But from the higher time frame perspective, we still haven't broken anything of major significance. Lower time frames, absolutely. The play on the lower time frames has been long. But remember, these whole market cycles can take fucking years, man. I mean, this can be a long time.
Right.
So there's no real rush, right? And also, we can also just kind of flesh out the ideas on, more importantly, why I don't believe that the bottom is in, because Bitcoin just hasn't marked what I typically look for on a major market cycle low. And there's a lot that goes into this, but we can just briefly kind of, cover it, go over here to a weekly. And basically, first things first, the first thing that I look for is major volume on a major market cycle low. We don't really have that. What I'm talking about is I want to see volume analogous to what we did over here in the parabolic cycle. You see this massive spike up here. And remember that this metric is measured in coins traded, not dollars traded. So when Bitcoin is quite literally 2 to 3 times the price over here as it is in the current moment in time, the volume is drastically, overdone. In fact, we can look at it versus the dollar really quick. This Bitcoin dollar volume right here. Another nice little indicator. And when we pull it in and actually zoom in on this, you can see that this is it's not even comparable. It's nowhere near. We're talking about it's a very big number. I can't quite necessarily talk it out in my own tongue, but you can see that about 300% more volume on the actual top. Again, it doesn't need to be exactly there, but it needs to be, I would like to see it around there, because that's when we put in major inflection points on the market. You'll notice in 2014, 2015, you put in your major parabolic top right here on this volume, and when you actually put in your low, it's a very similar volume read as well. And also when you do start your bull market, you see another major spike like that, telling us that is what we need to see from Bitcoin's personality standpoint for an actual change on the bigger time scale. Not only that, but Bitcoin has spent a lot of time at the lows, man. And I'm sure in after speaking with you, I know that you've been in Bitcoin for quite some time, and you can tell anyone just as much as I can, probably more so, that Bitcoin does not give you a lot of time to buy the actual lows.
No, I suspect it will be very quick when it happens. So I don't. Right. That's one of the other reasons why I don't think we've hit it. I'm looking for a much sharper V bottom.
Right. And right now, Bitcoin really spent the last 18, 19 weeks kind of grinding this area out. Giving you multiple weeks to actually buy within a few percentage points of this current low. And just like you said it, this was the last time that Bitcoin bottomed right over here. It never returned within almost 45% of the fucking low ever again. It doesn't give you multiple chances to buy the low. More importantly, we saw a bounce within 1 week of about 80%, 69 to 79%. That's pretty impressive. Put this in perspective, Bitcoin over the course of the first 18, 19 weeks bounced up maybe 29%. So that one doing just almost double that in 1 week versus 19 weeks right over here. So again, a very lackluster response is what I'm kind of getting at. Not only that, but when we bring up, I want to bring up the historical volatility rank, which, if you're not familiar with the historical volatility rank, it's basically a mean reverting oscillator that tells you about the mean reversions to price over some given amount of time, which again, doesn't mean all that much. What I should really say in a more actionable way is that it oscillates between 0 and 1. And when it's a 0, it's telling you that a major move is about to occur. It was a 0 before 6,000 broke right over here. When it's a 1, it's telling you that a major move is about to come into a consolidation. So we see it, happen on major inflection points like the 20,000 high right here, like the 6,000 low right here, major low right here, major low right here, major high right here. It's getting those points very, 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 very well. As you can see on the current low of about 3,200, we actually don't even get that high, comparatively speaking. We got up to a 0.66 or so, which is, it's good, but it ain't great. I mean, I really want to see on a major low, I want to see this thing get up as high as possible. I mean, usually towards at least a 0.9, which is what we see in the past market cycles right here. We haven't really gotten that same sort of behavior just yet. So, all of that comes into confluence with then what I refer to as the underlying market dynamics, which is essentially the longs and the shorts. If we can go over to DataMesh and check out right now. DataMesh is showing that we have a great imbalance between the longs and the shorts, right? We have about 24,000 open longs versus 17 and a quarter open shorts, with almost 3,000 guys hedged, so a little over 14,000 open shorts. Oh man, missed my Forex trades. Oh well. All good, man. All good. Good to be here with the Bear family. Anyways, so we have a great imbalance between these two, and really, when you see a major market cycle turn around, you really want to see a big differential. You want to see a big skew in that in favor of the shorts, actually, because what we really want to see is enough shorts to actually provide the liquidity for a rocket fuel to the upside. Because remember, when people are getting liquidated, when shorts are getting liquidated, more importantly, they need to be buyers, right? So they just add rocket fuel to have that nice V bottom, as you kind of just stated. Well, we don't really have that right now. In fact, historically speaking, going back now on over into here, we can bring up the shorts chart. Whoops, right here. It's 17,000, and we're actually in an area, historically speaking, that has provided some pretty nasty dumps. Going all the way back for the past year or a little bit more than that. These are all the major dumps that have emerged for the past year. I mean, this was your double top at 12,000 in February. This was your top at 10,000 in May. This was your top at 8,400 in August. Top at 73 in September. Top at, well, basically 6,000 before going up 3,000. And then once again, we're kind of in this range. So it does make me very apprehensive to be calling that, a low is in, until I see those higher timeframes that we spoke about earlier kind of, start to signal that something new is going on. For now, we actually just see what appears to be a rejection on the higher timeframes, which is, quite concerning. So yeah, man, I think that would pretty much ground out the basis of why I would still be apprehensive about the low being in. But just like I said before, if you're trading the lower timeframes, that all means butt kiss. It's the direction has been to being fucking long recently. So yeah, man.
No, that was brilliant. Actually, it's fun. I've never seen that NVT indicator before. Thanks for sharing that. That's a fantastic one. It reminds me of when I first found the volume profile readout. I was like, oh, this is great. This is so great. There's all these
volume profile, very useful as well.
There's all these hidden little gems in TradingView I didn't know existed. And the historical volume on the US dollar, that's a great indicator as well, man. Nice share. Those are fantastic.
Yeah, and actually, now that you bring it up, the volume profile, you probably already know this, but volume profile is showing, realistically, I mean, there's a lot of activity going on much lower than where we currently are. This kind of node that we're hanging on to right now, it looks okay. We've ripped back up, and we're probably gonna test into this volume node, but overall, it does, typically speaking, assets want to float towards more liquidity, and it does look to me like there's more downside liquidity here.
Yeah, that's so in November, when I had first started seeing the volume profile, because I didn't know that tool existed, that's when I started to be like, oh no, we've got nothing holding us up closer to the, and there's that big gap in the 1,600 area.
Oh, and you're talking about this area right here, yeah.
Yeah, that was the gap that had me concerned when as soon as we dropped mid-November, I was like, oh no, it's a lot more, a lot further we could go down here.
Yeah, absolutely, man. That was a pretty aggressive move. I mean, just talking about Bitcoin historically, I think that was the most aggressive downtrend it's ever seen. Just really, really intense.
Yeah, there was something very interesting that happened. I remember on November 10th, we saw, I forget what website it is, but there's a website that tracks old wallets that have 20 to 30,000 plus Bitcoin that haven't been touched since 2010 area. And around November 10th through 13th, we saw around 4 or 5 of those untouched wallets. And I think there's only about 100 of them that came online and started moving towards exchanges. So we had a big warning sign come in a few days before. So now I keep my eye on who's moving Bitcoin around.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It is a very unique asset where we can actually document that and see it in real time. I mean, that's kind of unheard of, man. You don't really have that sort of leg up in traditional markets.
Yeah, it's one of the plus sides to this space is it's really offering us a whole new type of trading to some degree too. It was really fascinating. I remember we were trading Neo back when it was penny or like 30 cents or something like this, and it followed targets so smoothly that at first time of I'm like, oh, are we trading in a non-manipulated market? This seems so much closer to an actual emotional response than just a bunch of I guess inflated trading. Like the stock market today, I think the S&P 500 is back above its previous levels of resistance, and now creating support at 28.5. I'm like, are they just printing money again? Like, how is this
Oh
happening?
man, the stock market is a whole nother beast, man. It is a whole nother beast. I mean, Jesus Christ, I can tell you that that game is. I don't want to say some certain words because I am still technically registered, but I would say that there's some very fishy things that go on there. Put it that way.
Yeah, we'll leave it at that. We'll leave it at that because I agree with you as well. So let's dive in. In the Bear family, we've been swing trading Raven since November, and it's performed monstrously for us. They're backed by Patrick Bryan. But what other tokens are you interested in that you've been watching? Because we've got a few on the list, but I always love to hear other traders' insight. Like we're all using different forms of understanding what's happening because we're trying to chart emotions. So you're using logic to chart something that's entirely illogical. It's one of my favorite things. Tell me about what you're.
I love what you said there. Yeah,
right?
Go ahead.
So give us some insight into some of the tokens you've been interested in that isn't Bitcoin. I'm not a maximalist. I see these more sometimes as penny stocks, and there's so much volatility that I would be foolish to, foolish to leave that value on the table. It's just silly.
Right. So actually, I don't hold any other tokens. I wouldn't consider myself a Bitcoin maximalist either. I think it'd be incredibly naive to say that there's not going to be any other successful things in this arena. I'm certain that that's going to be extremely successful altcoins that go crazy beyond anything that we could ever imagine, in the coming years. But I don't know what they are, and I don't really care to trade them. I do keep my eyes on the top 10. I'm always keeping my eyes on Ethereum, on Litecoin. I think Litecoin's the most interesting one right now, just because it's been leading this market to the upside the whole way through. As a major, obviously you do have BNB as well, but I kind of think that thing is a different entity, so to speak. Right. So looking at Litecoin, I mean, Litecoin has had the breakout. I mean, we got a golden cross right over here. We're above the 21 exponential. That's my key for being definitely not short and probably long. And now we're just kind of seeing this move onwards and higher. And if I'm just looking at Litecoin, it's hard to argue that, I mean, there's nothing bearish about Litecoin right now, to be honest with you. I mean, this is the V bottom that I want to see on Bitcoin, right? This is kind of what you're expecting. This is a very powerful move from what, $22 all the way to $71. I mean, Jesus Christ, a 3x already, essentially. I mean, that's that is what I want to see on an actual bottom. So if I'm looking at Litecoin, I'm really looking at it in confluence with Bitcoin to tell me where the overall direction kind of is, because Litecoin has seemed to actually lead Bitcoin. Funnily enough, we actually saw Litecoin bottom out in 2014, 2015 earlier as well. You see, it kind of comes down here, and I believe it bottomed out in first hit the bottom in January 2015. I believe Bitcoin hit it in a little bit later than that, a few months later. Let's actually go compare. Bitcoin hitting it in January 15 as well. You can see that Bitcoin spent a lot of time going sideways here. Litecoin did not. Litecoin actually spent about half that time, where Bitcoin broke to the upside, I'd argue, in about October 2015. Litecoin did not. Litecoin broke right over here, I'd say, in May 2015. So that was, quite a lot more soon. I mean, Jesus Christ, man, months and months and months. So I am kind of keeping an eye on that, because there's also some sort of fundamental thing going on with Litecoin as well, where they have the halving going on sooner than Bitcoin. And is Litecoin going to be the harbinger to kind of tell us what's going to go on with Bitcoin, and Bitcoin then controls the whole market? So that that relies all the way over into the altcoins, no matter which one you care about. I think that's kind of where I'm at right now. So I don't really have my eyes on too many altcoins. I'm mainly just checking out Bitcoin and its subsidiaries. but I also don't want to get labeled as like a as you know, maximalist. We think that there are some interesting ones out there, but nothing that's, you know, nothing that I'm compelled to hold or anything like that. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We're not hodlers by any means as well. What I like is there's waves, and there's a bunch of them that are taking place. As a surfer, I look for good waves. I try to ride that wave and then get off the wave. I don't want to just ride the wave all the way to the shore until it dies out. But it's a fantastic space. A lot of the alternative coins remind me more of the penny markets that you can pull into.
Yeah, exactly, Matt.
Yeah,
exactly.
we pulled in a 50% gain on Florin coin in 3 days.
Really going deep down there, man.
Yeah, I think we got 600% off Raven in the last 2 or 3 weeks. So it's too much fun. I don't risk lots on those. I don't hodl them. They're not necessarily viewed as long-term projects, but I look for those. Anywhere where there's big waves like that, I want to get in the water. Essentially, is what it comes down to.
What's on your mind then? What are you looking at?
Well, you know what? Has mostly been, so Raven right now looks like it might be in a 4th wave, entering into a 5th wave, which could give us another potential 100% up into the 2,600.
Another wave on this baby.
Well, it's in a very precarious place right now, but yeah, I'm starting to wonder if we're seeing it, the 4th wave, because 4th waves, in my mind, I'm always like, okay, think meandering and sideways, like confusing wave, and then that will go from there. And it's been in the nice channel just above the top of the 3rd wave. Sorry, I don't have my screen share open, and you're sharing right now. If you take a look at it, if you want.
Yeah, I'm on it right now.
Yeah, so I was trying to decide if we're in the 4th wave right now. So very, very precarious position. I would not suggest anyone enter. We made entries around 400 or 500 satoshis once.
Oh Jesus, yeah, wave. You're fine. Yeah, man, it's interesting because I'm not an Elliott wave person. I wouldn't consider myself an Elliott wave person, definitely by any stretch of the imagination. But when you say that you're looking for another wave on this guy, I'm actually, you know, if I'm just looking at this, I would actually say this, we probably put in a top right here at the very most. We probably come back and retest the top, but this one looks to me like it's probably done. I see plenty of divergences on the RSI. I see plenty of divergences on the Stokes, and they want down as well. It's I mean, and like we just spoke about before, this volume profile can rip back down to, what is this range, like 1,000, a little bit above 1,000. Yeah. So yeah, man, it's interesting to see where different people come from, because I don't know too many people personally who actually use Elliott Wave. So it's interesting to kind of see what your sort of views on that. I'd actually love to hear what you say about Bitcoin with regards to the waves, just out of curiosity, man.
Well, so one of the things with Elliott waves, I use it more as a guideline than anything particular. Okay. I'm just trying to figure out where we are. I'm using it in conjunction with a bunch of other ideas. So I don't put a lot of weight on the Elliott wave theory itself, because emotions can fluctuate depending on who's in the market and how much money they're moving in. So Ravencoin has a bunch of big backing from Medici Ventures. I mean, if you know anything about the Medici family, they were some of the very first people to put their toes down or their feet down in the monetary revolutions back in the medieval times. So that family name has been around playing monetary revolutions for quite some time. They're not new to this space necessarily speaking. They also have Patrick Bryan, CEO, Bruce Fenton, and they're working on a lot of really cool projects by using, so you can actually open Ravencoin asset creations and put property on the blockchain. So it's a proof of work Bitcoin fork that you can create secondary assets in each of the coins that you own. So you could
Right.
So one of the things that I've found interesting is that one of the reasons why Africa has been held back is that there's no real governance model for how you own property. And Henry De Soto's book, The Mystery of Capital, I don't know if anyone's ever read it, it's a fantastic book, but it talks about when you start with ownership specifically of property is when you start to see capitalization methods and models take off, because now you can actually own you can own assets. And in Africa, which is I think is going to be the biggest play over the next 10 years, they're doing a lot of work in Rwanda right now, trying to put some of these properties on the Raven blockchain. So it's a large amount of speculation. So in terms of Elliott Wave, I use it just as a rough sketch to guess where I am. The rest of it is risk management. So I've taken most of my profits for Raven, and I'm just watching to see what happens, because it moves so quickly in both directions.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah, that one looks like it was flying around. A lot of people ask about that in my streams as well. So it's interesting to see like how other people think about it. But yeah, man, you said something perfect right there. You said talking about risk management, and really anything can technically work if you have risk management. If I don't fucking stutter enough, and risk management, and also just some sort of an edge. That's what it really comes down to, man. I see a lot of people try to look for like the perfect technical analysis thing. Like some people go down the Elliott wave route and they'll say like, my waves are going to get it right 100% of the time. But if you don't have risk management for that, man, it only takes one time for you to lose your count. So it's very interesting to hear from another fellow trader that one of the most important things, the first thing that you mentioned, risk management.
Yeah, this is one of those ideas where it's like, okay, I know that for this, I've got a stop loss set and I'm willing to risk this much to potentially make this much. And if I lose that much, well, then at least I didn't lose the everything, right? So it's people have the hardest part about this entire space, I think, is emotional peace, like finding 100%. Emotional peace.
100%. And that's the thing is most people can understand technical analysis or just a very basic, a basic amount. It doesn't take all that much to get horizontal support and resistance, right? But managing your emotions in confluence to that is a whole different game, man. And that's why I love trading. It really teaches you a lot about yourself and how you respond to all sorts of diverse situations and putting yourself into, just throwing yourself out in the deep water and then realizing, okay, I need to go stick with the plan, but your emotions always try to, they try to play tricks on you. They're essentially going against you more often than not. It takes a little bit of time, but over time they do kind of catch up, right? But that first couple of years where you're fighting your emotions and it feels so unnatural, I think just gets so many people, man. So it's very interesting to hear you say the same sort of thing.
Yeah, it's probably it's one of the reasons why I love charting the most. Because I'm kind of a far out person. I've studied a lot of sacred geometry, so the fact that we can use like fractal mathematics, like a rough, rough Elliott waves or the Fibonacci. These are all things that I grew up studying because I love music and the Fibonacci. You can find all the musical notes.
It's everywhere, man. It's everywhere.
So it's one of those times like, okay, so I get to work on my emotions and I get to technically invest in learning more about math. I'm like, I'm in. I love this.
Yeah, man. And it's very interesting to see how it works out, man. Just plotting fibs. I mean, you just talk about another tool that's just so easy to understand, and just to see it work in actuality, it can be so simple if you just let it be. And that's the beauty of trading.
Yeah, so one of the other parts I thought was really interesting is that you had mentioned that Litecoin was one of the leaders in the space, and I actually remember that when Bitcoin was around $200 to $300, Litecoin went from 2 to 20 very, very quickly. Kind of led that market movement just before Bitcoin started to take off as well.
Yeah.
So I guess here's my fundamental question then. Because everything seems to move in lockstep, if we're not at the top at Bitcoin and it comes back down again, will it bring Litecoin with it? Or do you think the halvening and the scarcity model built in will keep Litecoin's head above water?
So I would be hard pressed to say that the market doesn't follow Bitcoin, because that has been the trend in the past. If Bitcoin is putting in a high, basically everything else is. There's usually like one or two outliers. I think we've seen like a legitimate one or two this past year, maybe BNB token, and then I think Link, just some random thing that I know nothing about, but have checked a million times now. They do random things, but for the most part, the market moves together. Why is that? Well, you said it best perfectly. You said it perfectly. We have an immature market that's very, 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 very low market cap in general. So, one thing, especially relating them all together in the fact that they all trade against Bitcoin, essentially, you're going to have that sort of behavior. I mean, the market cap in this space is less than $1 trillion, man. That's nothing. There's companies with more market cap than that, and that's including every last little shitcoin in this place plus Bitcoin. When you compare to it, if you're not aware about market caps, compared to something like gold, right? Gold has a market cap of 7 trillion. Bitcoin is maybe like 100 billion now, so it's a whole magnitude different. So this market is very, 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 very small, and we are still in the extremely, extremely early stages. So that always kind of brings me up to my next topic is, hey, if you're a long-term thinker, keep that in mind. This is still rather early, rather early. So, it's always good to have perspective on the general outlook of this whole thing.
Yeah, It's one of the hardest things to do. I mean, we see the FOMO.
Right.
I mean, as soon as Bitcoin broke out yesterday, the bear market or the bull market is back on.
Exactly. But that's always when it's best to just fade your own emotions, look at the higher time frames, and say, has anything changed from here? No? Okay, well, fair enough. This, it might be a great sell then. Because when it comes down to that, man, I mean, it's better, the trend is your friend until the end of the trend, right? That's the saying. And the trend has been strong for over a year. Well, that just means it's more likely to continue, really. Just like when it was going to the upside, everyone was trying to be the genius time in the top. You heard all these people trying to short 7,000. It's not supposed to go higher than 8,000. They're short 8,000. It's not supposed to go higher than 10,000. You do that, just liquidating people along the way. So it works both ways. And, I really want to distance myself from the gang mentality. While I am still apprehensive saying that the lows are in, I would say that I don't want to join the bear gang or the bull gang. I want to be more agnostic when looking at this sort of stuff as a trader. As an opinionated person, yeah, I'd probably say the low's probably not in, but shit, that can take, I mean, if you're waiting around for that, that can take what, like another half year, man? It could take another year. I mean, we could be here for a while. We could be here for a long time.
Yeah, and this is one of the things too, is that I think exposure to assets like this is always important. And that's one of the other things that I try to reiterate to other people is that, a good portfolio should consist not just of crypto. If you're talking about, oh, what should I have in my portfolio? Their obvious answers are up there with property, owning portions of businesses, gold, and crypto. And I think what's commonly misunderstood is that, is having exposure to all these different types of assets makes it a lot easier to have that cool collected mindset. So if Bitcoin moves up 20%, no, I'm not trying to run and jump in. I'm happy to watch it grow.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I've actually just reading a very interesting book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. He's all talking about just exactly that, man. Acquiring assets. That's what the rich do, man. They acquire assets, and then you're not really feeling that FOMO that you're just kind of talking about. And there's always something working in your direction. That's what it's really about, man. So it sounds like you got a very well-rounded approach to this whole game.
Yeah, I grew up living in the middle of nature. I'm the kind of person that I like at the end at sunset, I'll go dig a hole in the garden and move some rocks around, and that's like that's my
it's a simple life, baby.
Yeah, exactly. That's my gold moment, and that's what I know too. I'm like, you know what? The pineapples don't give a shit whether we're in a bear or bull market. They grow exactly the same.
No matter what, man.
Yeah, pineapples don't care. Horses don't care. The pigs are fine. Everything's good. Everything's good over here.
You got a full-on farm over there, Tio?
Yeah, I've got about 2 acres, but I'm here behind so I live in a gated community with about 5 other people, and we've got wild goats. We've got wild horses on the property. It's about 240 acres in total for the 5 of us.
Man, you're set.
Yeah, it's a nice place. I'm kind of I love nature more than people at the particular moment. So this is like my retreat center. I'll have to come visit you in Finland, though. I think sounds like a smart idea.
It's quite organic here too, man. That's what I like about it. It feels like you can just kind of relax and sit down. I mean, I grew up in San Francisco, lived in Chicago. Those are 2 pretty big cities, so it's nice to come to a more secluded area, be able to get out in the fucking woods, and there's something about it, man. There's something about it that just makes you feel more at peace, which is going to carry on over into everything else that you do. Bringing it back to trading. I mean, shit. The last thing that you want to do is when you're a trader is be fucking stressed.
Yeah.
I mean, you're gonna make all the wrong decisions. I mean, your brain is quite literally blocking you from making the proper decisions just because you're gonna be in a different sort of mindset. You're gonna be in the whole flight or flight mode, which is where I see a lot of people get in, man. Especially when it comes down to leverage, man. People are just going way off the deep end, man. And it's very difficult to keep your cool when you're at 50 fucking X. No shit. So it's one of those things. It's very interesting to see that you live over there, man, and you seem like a very calm, cool, and collected person.
Sometimes, unless I let you get too close to me emotionally, and then I'm a wreck. That's the only time I'm a wreck, is if I let someone get too close. Yeah, it's a jujitsu rule.
Yeah.
Hands length, everybody's fine. Arms length, someone's getting screwed. If we're really, really close together, we're both good. But anywhere in that middle range, we're probably both getting hurt.
All right, I got it, man. Can't be half a gangster.
Beautiful. Eric, it's been an absolute pleasure to chat with you. I actually hope we do this somewhat frequently. I hope to have you back on the show. Or if not, I'm going to come visit you in Finland, because I love the food over there. For those of you that haven't yet, please check out Krowns Crypto Cave on YouTube. Go give him a subscription, as some thumbs up for his videos as well. He's got great content. I'm really glad you shared that the NVT. I'd never seen that indicator. There's so many ways to keep adding on the growth and development together. So I'm super stoked about that. And then for all of you guys that haven't yet, smash that thumbs up button 2019 style. Click subscribe if you're new to the Bear family, and follow us on, and Erica from Krowns Crypto Cave on any of the regular Twitter, Facebook, I'm sure, all that fun stuff. Do some digging around, see where you can find Eric. Lots of valuable information. And like I said, it's been a pleasure to chat with you today too. I'm really excited to see the future as we build and grow this community together, because this is just the start. Great. Thank you guys all for joining us today. We'll see. Eric, I'm going to keep you on for a few more minutes, so don't hang up quite yet. We'll see you guys on the other side. Have a great day.